Welcome back to the Tech Mahindra Global Chess League. The teams are out and ready to go as the Triveni Continental Kings face off with the American Gambits. But we want you to get involved with our poll. Will TCK win and reach the top of the points table? Head to fans.globalchessleague.com and cast your vote. So let's get on with the match and head to our commentary team with Tanya Sachdev and Sagar Shah.
Thank you so much, James. We are here for the big matchup. The Triveni Continental Kings take on the American Gambits. And joining me to take you through the match is the one and only Tanya Sachdev. Hello, Tanya.
Hi, Sagar. Super excited. And is that Alireza Firouzja with a yawn on our screen? Because he better wake up. He's going to be facing Hikaru Nakamura.
But he's been the man in form in this tournament. 5 wins and 1 draw. He's just unbeaten here. Unbeatable.
A relentless competitor, and the players are ready. They are getting locked in, and so much of it depends on this man right now. It's the icon board. He has been leading the Kings. He's been the king of kings in this tournament, but right now he faces the beast. He's against Hikaru Nakamura, who is the world number 2.
Yeah, and Hikaru is actually raring to prove himself in this tournament. He has had, he's beaten Vishy Anand, but not too many things to celebrate about. I think the Triveni Continental Kings today looking very relaxed.
They almost look unbothered right now, but once the moves come in, Sagar, this is just them getting in the zone. They don't want to give away any tension, any nervousness. And these two that we see in front of us, 2 greats of the game. Now Hikaru, he's got a presence. Facing him is never easy. But one of the cool things about Alireza, he doesn't let that get into his head. It is handshakes, it's go time, and it is what we call the English opening in London.
Yeah, he plays the English opening, slight change from the knight that he used to bring out every move. And we see here Hikaru responding back with a little pawn push and striking in the center.
One of the things that Alireza has done so well in this tournament so far has also been his clock management. Getting those opening moves in quickly, trying to surprise his opponent early on, forcing them to think. And again, part of his genius has been whoever he's facing, he doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care, and Hikaru actually would be looking to beat Alireza because, you know, whenever there's someone in form, when you take him down, the tournament becomes really good for you. So I think that's a big opportunity here for Hikaru and his team.
And they've got to maximize that because the American Gambits are struggling on the leaderboard so far. For the Triveni Continental Kings on that 2nd place. So a win here would really make their position into the finals extremely solid. And we've got a big matchup on this as well as Yu Yangi faces Jan-Krzysztof Duda.
Right, and we have a very, very calm opening on this board. We opened with the king pawn, and we have what is known as the Italian opening in the opening here. Yeah, this is very standard stuff that happened. Both sides have castled, bishop comes in, and now Yu Yangi has to decide whether he wants to take it and make it completely symmetrical. No, he does not. He just pushes his pawn here, Tanya.
He keeps the tension. It's a face-off. He says, yes, we can trade, but we will trade on my terms. If you capture the bishop, which in fact Jan-Krzysztof Duda has, where he brings the knight forward into the game.
Right, and moving on to boards 3 and 4, we have a staggered start here. The game starts 2 minutes after the first and second board. On board number 3, we have Temur Rajabov, who's taking on Yu Yangi. And on board 4, we have Alexandra Koschenyuk and Bibisara Saubayeva.
And we see the first moves come in fast and quick. And there by Yu Yangi, a small move at the corner of the board, which made Rajabov take a little pause. But the players still are playing the standard opening moves so far, Sagar.
Yeah, we've been talking about this. In fact, our team members there in the commentary was speaking about how Yu Yangi needs to fire today for the American Gambits because Temur Rajabov has been off color. He has only made draws and lost several games. So here is the chance for American Gambits to strike. And I think Yu Yangi wants to take all the opportunities that he gets here.
Absolutely, especially because there are a sweet 4 points at stake for a win with the black pieces. And we see some trade in the center. The pawns have come off. The bishop now lines itself towards white's king side. So things still developing in that one. And a big one here with the chess queen, as we call her, Alexandra Kostanuik, with the white pieces against perhaps the chess princess, Bibisara.
Yeah, Bibisara is a two-time World Blitz champion, but in this tournament, Alexandra has been in tremendous form. She has had 3 wins and 3 draws, unbeaten until now, and has been a huge asset for the Triveni Continental Kings.
14 points she's earned for the team, and that's a lot, only behind the 19-pointer Alireza Firouzja, who's so unstoppable. But the game that we have so far, it's quite balanced in this one. Equal level material. Both players have managed to get their pieces out, but there's one imbalance here. If we take a closer look, white has got a bishop pair there, so interesting to see how that one will develop.
Right, and we have Valentina Gunina and Elizabeth Pates playing on board 5. I've always liked how Gunina comes with the cap and it's turned backwards, and we have this nice mascot of the Triveni Continental Kings on it. So she's sporting that, and she's been playing quite well.
Absolutely, and that's why they are at the top of the leaderboard at second position. Now, they're also the defending champions, and they really want to get that second win at the GCL in. What we have here is a very fascinating opening, Sagar, because we already see the bishops have been traded off. And white, there's a lot of tension between the pawns on the left side of the board here. So some decisions to be made, and Elizabeth takes a think.
Yeah, she's thinking for her move here, and I think she has to decide whether she wants to take it or she wants to defend it. And these are some questions which are very important in the opening. Generally, the players are well prepared, so they have done the homework before the game. But in this particular case, it seems like Elizabeth is trying to figure it out on the board. And let's go to the prodigy board, Tanya. Here we have Chavokir Sindarov, who's been playing quite okay, and Jonas Bier, who has not been particularly in good form. So here, once again, this is the big matchup that actually decided the first edition of the Global Chess League.
And what a matchup that was. It went down to the wire, and it was Jonas who took that win for the team he's playing against today.
Yes.
For the Triveni Continental Kings. So perhaps chess being such a psychological battle that is somewhere at the back of his mind. But he needs to focus on the job in front of him, because so far it's been a tough tournament for Jonas. But right now, there's a threat on the board. That last move with the knight jump on the side, it attacks the bishop, and Sindarov retreats, putting it to what looks like a passive square. But Sagar, it's important to retain that bishop for the middle game.
Yeah, that bishop is a very important piece, maybe one of the most important pieces on the board right now. And also the knight went to the side. So Jonas is actually playing something quite unusual. Yeah, in the opening, he's not played normal opening. If you see here, Tanya, after bishop comes out, generally black brings out the bishop or the knight, but he pushed his pawn forward. And I think what he wants to do today is just have a fresh game of chess, not worry about opening theory, and that's his strategy.
He's saying no theoretical battles here, not something that you're familiar with. I just want to play a game, like you're saying, Sagar. Completely agree. That last move takes control of the center of the board, and chess is all about controlling the center. You don't want white to be able to push that d pawn forward, opening up the queen, opening up the bishop, getting play against the black pieces. So right now, despite moving the knight to the corner, it's really a center game that we're looking at.
Yeah, right now it's still early days. White's position slightly better. We are now heading into the icon board once again to see what really transpired in the opening. Alireza has 15 minutes, 45 seconds on the clock. Hikaru has 17 minutes on the clock. And the last move that white played here was d3. We left here. Pawn pushed ahead. Hikaru moved his pawn. Takes. Alireza pushed the pawn once again, controlling the center. The bishop came out, now capturing the complete center. This is looking good for white. Knight went back, but now suddenly the knight and the bishop are attacking the pawn. So the pawn moved forward. And Tanya, we've reached this position right now. Tell us what is happening here.
Well, once again, we see the tension is in the center of the board. Hikaru, with his last move, is targeting that central pawn to make a weakness, which can further come into attack. But also notice how on the right side of the board, the H-pawn has already started its way towards the black king. And I'm expecting this one to become quite a feisty battle between these two players who love to play aggressive chess, especially Alireza Firouzja. The knight can jump forward, the queen can join the attack. I'm looking at ideas like knight g5, which you're highlighting, the queen to h5. Watch out for the black king. I think you have to be on the defense, but black's done everything right so far.
Tanya, your move is on the board, just as you predicted. The knight jumps forward. Hikaru's like, let me take that bishop out of the game. Would it be right to say that, in a way, Alireza is trying for the attack, while Hikaru is playing more towards the center of the board?
That's exactly the dynamics. What black really wants is to trade those two pawns on d4. And that would give him a clear target to get to that center. Meanwhile, Alireza, on the other hand, next move, I'm expecting the queen to join in the knight and start putting some direct threats on black. And those will be questions to be answered. And this is traditional chess wisdom. When your opponent is attacking on the flank, you try to direct your forces to the center of the board.
Right, and for now, I have a feeling that Hikaru looks very, very confident. Although his position, as Tanya mentioned, there could be attack that's coming up, but maybe he'll be having resources to defend. He's trying to move his knight, Tanya. Maybe he puts his knight back and tries to reroute it in a way that it attacks the central pawn.
And then it's all about time. Who's first? Is white going to be first getting in the attack against the black king? Or will Hikaru be able to strike in the center? Great call by you, Sagar. He goes for that plan. He decides that the knight doesn't belong there. He finds the right square, and that is on c6.
And Hikaru's, Firouzja's expression says he doesn't like that move particularly. Maybe, Tanya, he's seeing that the queen can move out and attack this rook on the side of the board, even stopping the knight from coming out.
Well, Alireza, he looks like he wasn't expecting this move, right? Because we say in chess that the knight retreating moves are the hardest to find.
Yeah.
Hikaru finds it, he plays it, and it's clear that this was not on Alireza's radar. He's taken a pause right now. He has options. The big question, where are you putting the queen? What is the right square?
Right, and he's thinking here, and we have the poll question, will Triveni Continental Kings win and reach the top of the table? Because if they win here, Tanya, they will join the PBG Alaskan Knights with 15 points.
And that would be the first time in the league this season that we will have two teams at the top of the leaderboard.
Yes. And by the way, the queen has moved here, attacking the rook. Hikaru needs to decide what to do. Tanya, this move, like queen moving in here, is a bad idea, because after I take, we all know about the lonely pawns, yeah, the isolated pawns which are not supported by any of their team members, and this pawn will be terrible.
But he's gone for it. Hikaru goes for it. I completely agree with you. Alireza doesn't need to think about the attack right now. Trade the queens, go into a position where you have a direct target.
No, come on. I think Hikaru here has gone wrong, because after queen takes, queen, pawn takes, Tanya, look at this move. I bring my knight back on this side so that my knight jumps here and then attacks. Alireza takes, and he does it. He's brought the knight back to the side of the board.
Hikaru is, I think he's concerned about his position. And Sagar, you should be there playing right now.
No,
Alireza
I shouldn't be there. I am looking at the engine and calling this out. Alireza is playing like an engine. You know, he's finding all the best moves that are there on the board. This is just incredible. The way in which he quickly brought his knight to the edge to move it to the center.
Alireza has been the engine of this team so far and playing flawlessly. He first brings out the bishop. Ignore that question mark right now, because this is the human move. You simply defend that pawn, and that knight, which is on the edge of the board, is going to start directing itself towards attacking that key central pawn. It's all about, can Hikaru keep that d5 pawn defended? He has to do something fast.
He's actually
he goes for
trying for some kind of play against this central structure, and I think Hikaru is not one who will just, you know, just stay there and defend passively. He's trying to create his own play. He's attacking the center, and I think this position, as you can see from the win probability, 52% for white, 48% for black. So Hikaru seems to be doing pretty okay here, Tanya.
It's really not Hikaru's style to sit passively and try and defend. He tries to find the activity. He does it immediately. He knows he needs to start targeting the center. We will keep an eye on that one. But Sagar, we've got a very important clash on both three, where Rajabov has been struggling in the tournament so far.
Yes, and actually Yu Yangi should be very happy here because he's got a very messy position on the board. It's not like he's better. It's just that there are all the pieces on the board and you keep playing. And both the players have been without any wins, Tanya, in this tournament. But Yu Yangi has been very solid. He has had several draws, while Rajabov has lost many more games.
That's also so frustrating because you really want to get your first win in. And I see that the position looks level. Both players have their own trumps. But Sagar, I do like white here just a little bit more. I'm eyeing that f5 square, that knight from the center of the board, jumping in at the right moment to start creating some threats.
It's a very, very intense position. And Tanya, you know, I would like to tell our viewers that if they are on WhatsApp, they can actually head to fans.globalchessleague.com/bot to get all the latest moves. And this is a very nice feature that has been introduced in this league so that everyone can follow all the little details on their phone.
In real time. So you really keep up with the league. And right now, let's keep up with the time of the players as well, as Rajabov goes under 13 minutes. Not that much of an advantage. This one developing nicely. It looks like it's going to be an exciting battle, but we're still not there yet.
Right. Okay, so right now, this is a very, very interesting position. Lot of possibilities, knights jumping around. A perfect time to have an overview here. We can see, Tanya, that almost all the boards are equal. In fact, there's hardly any board where one side is seriously better. And so this just goes to show that it's going to be a very level match.
It's going to be a close fight. This is balanced so far all across, as we see a bird's eye view of all the 6 boards. And right now, just popped up on that top right board, a question mark we saw to the last move, but still feels incredibly balanced to me. Sagar, this is going to come down to the wire, this match. It means so much to both these teams.
But you know what? A little bit of an advantage to Team TCK, the Triveni Continental Kings, because of Valentina Gunina here. Elizabeth Pates hasn't played this position particularly well, and it feels like white is slightly better here.
And the reason for that, in chess we have a concept of pawn islands. Who has the healthier pawn formation? Do the math here. All of white's pawns are connected. White has just one single island. Meanwhile, black has got 2 islands which give white a clear target. And guess what? The queen and the rook already lined up on one of the targets.
Right, and Gunina has played quite well in this tournament, Tanya. She scored 9 points, 1 black win, 1 white win. She has 2 draws and 2 losses. Meanwhile, Elizabeth has had 3 losses, but well, on the given day, you just have to fire here. You just forget what has happened in this tournament. Just zone in completely. She played, what a nice move. Rook coming up here. Tanya, this is a fantastic move, preparing the knight to jump.
Preparing the knight to jump, and we were talking about the queen and the rook doubled up. Guess what? There are going to be 3 forces on that file soon. The rook has vacated the queen. A square for the queen to at some point go forward and then get that second rook onto the open line.
Yes, this is looking really good, and I think, Tanya, it's time for us to move on back to the prodigy board right now. Javokir Sindarov and Jonas Beer. There has been some movement here in the center and on the side. Look at this. What happened in the last few moves? Let me take you through. So, Jonas pushed his pawn in the center. Javokir came out with his knight. The bishop took. He took with the pawn. The pawn pushed forward. He pushed his pawn. He took the knight. He took the knight. And he took back the pawn, and he took the pawn. So actually, a lot of exchanges happening here, which has led to a level position.
A level position and now one more exchange on offer, Sagar, but it feels as if all these trades have perhaps helped black a little bit more. Once again, compare the pawn formation that we see on the board. White, just the structure feels unhealthy. On the c file, 2 doubled pawns, and we see Sindarov says, no more trades. I'm going to start targeting your c5 weakness, which needs to be defended.
Right. And now moving back to the icon board, Tanya, this is where a lot of simplifications have happened between Firouzja and Hikaru. And I have a feeling that perhaps they might agree to a draw soon. Do you think so? Or do you think that Firouzja has that very small edge thanks to being slightly more active?
More active, both the knights placed beautifully for white and for black, but that rook at the corner of the board ties down a black's rook, but it feels it's too little. Such few material. Black can also double up on the f file, start creating threats around white's king side pawns, as you're very rightly highlighting right there. Now, Alireza in this tournament has taken down Magnus Carlsen, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, Vishwanathan Anand. Their last encounter, he beat Hikaru.
Yes.
And Hikaru, I think a draw, he would be happy given Alireza's form.
Yeah, I guess so. I think that would be a good strategy for the American Gambits. Just hold Alireza on board 1 because he's clearly the best player. And also hold Alexandra Kostyanyuk on board 4. And then just try to win on one of the remaining boards. But as of now, Alireza is trying. It's not like he's just heading towards a draw. Meanwhile, Bibisara is saying, okay, if you give me the job of holding Alexandra Kostyanyuk, I will try to do my best. But Tanya, look at what Alexandra has done. She sacrificed a piece.
This is a crazy, crazy position. And if we look carefully, we see that black has one extra minor piece in the position. White only has 2. But for that minor piece, white has got 2 pawns and an attack on the king side. This h-pawn, it's coming up the board. Even if this is better for black, Sagar, I would be terrified because white has so many attacking possibilities here.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a normal position, Tanya, here, equal. And suddenly Alexandra says, let me sacrifice a knight. The engine does not like it because, you know, the engine defends very accurately. While human beings, when they see such things and when they see the clock ticking down, they are like, oh my God, what should I do?
You're sweating. You're panicking in these kind of positions. You don't have enough time to counter. And you make such a great point there that for computers, it's a position that you can hold. You can defend. But from a human perspective, incredibly hard to play.
Right, and the h-pawn can run forward and the king can come under attack. So clearly a very exciting position. Objectively, we can see Bibisara doing well, but from a practical perspective, all results possible.
Sagar, would you be materialistic here? Would you rather be white or black in this position?
I would rather be white here because it's more fun, you know, Tanya, to attack. But I guess when the opponent starts making a few accurate moves, then I would prefer black. What about you?
I would rather commentate on this position. It is so incredibly complicated. I don't want to make any decisions on the board. And for Elizabeth and Valentina Gunina, also an incredible fight on right now. We see moves coming in and a trade has just happened.
Yeah, a trade has happened and I think this is landing into a territory of a big advantage here for white. She takes the bishop and now...
last move.
Yes, actually, she took the knight here and now white took the knight. So now there's kind of a pin here, and black says, I don't want to move anything, and pins this way. It's such a game of pins happening here.
I'm just trying to get my head around how many pins we've got. All the face-off and the tension that we're seeing. The rooks lined up against each other. The queens lined up against each other. Nothing can be captured because of the tension that we see. Now the queen moves back.
Right.
And still no
nothing,
threat.
There's no threat really. It's
Except
like on the intersection, Tanya. All the cars are just stopped by and no one can move.
They're blocking each other's way. But there's one little pawn which is easy to forget about, which currently is under attack. So you
but then I can save it, maybe. I can, but it's not like it solves the position because then it's quite complex still.
It gets very complicated because white has ideas of the knight jumping forward, attacking the rook on the next move, and things can get messy very quickly in this one.
Right. Okay, so there you see
I think she's about to move the pawn.
She moves her bishop back, and it's like the bishop is slightly misplaced there, Tanya. Imagine if I push my pawn, what is the bishop doing here? It's not at all active. What she takes with the pawn. Wow, these are some really unconventional decisions by Elizabeth Pates, which has landed her in a not so great position.
And the reason why this is not such a great position, you highlighted Black's bishop. It's sort of dead in the corner of the board. The last move by Elizabeth also weakens her central pawns, which can start becoming a target once the white queen slides over to an active square, either c3 or g3, and it just feels like white is the one who's having all the fun.
Yes, absolutely. Let's head over now, Tanya, to board number 2, where we have Wei Yi versus Jan-Krzysztof Duda. And look at this position. It's like they just skipped the middle game and landed right into the end game.
Level material, we do a quick math, but white's knights more active than its counterparts right there. The black knight, on the last rank, trying to find some targets. I still think black has some work to do. Jan-Krzysztof Duda will need to be slightly accurate here, but the clock favors Duda right now.
Yes, I think some bit of work you have to do here, and such endgames are very dangerous if you are not careful. Wei Yi can actually turn on the heat, so Duda needs to be careful. A knight is jumping in here. This pawn can become weak. And Tanya, while we are analyzing this, there's some action on the top board, on the icon board. It might end very soon in a draw.
You call it action, I call it inaction. Everything has been traded off in this one, and it looks like both players have neutralized each other's pressure. Yes, white has an extra pawn, but in this endgame, it's very difficult to actually make anything of that. The black king and the pawn hold everything, and now we see with that Hikaru's last move, that 1 versus 2, one pawn clamping down on the kingside pawns.
Yeah. The best case scenario is that white will be left with 1 extra pawn at the end, and that is a draw. So right now, we can safely consider the top board to be ending in a draw, Tanya.
I agree. So it comes down to the fight on the other boards, and each one hotter than the next. Sagar, where would you want to take to? These two facing each other? It just feels Alireza with the slight edge, that extra pawn, but not going to be enough to get the full point.
Yes, I think we should move to the Rajabov versus Yu Yangi battle on board number 3, because here is where we were talking about Yu Yangi having a nice position, should put pressure on Rajabov, but I think the things have been quite okay for white here. And Rajabov has a good position.
I agree with you, but right now there is a threat. That e-pawn is under fire.
Yeah.
The black queen and the rook are lined up. So Rajabov perhaps has to take a bit of a committal decision by advancing its friend on the f-line, moving it 2 steps forward. Rajabov, does he like these kind of moves, or is it against his natural instinct, his natural style of play?
Well, I think he's one of those guys who will try to find the best move in the position, Tanya. And I think this move is definitely the best here, because you bolster your center, and if he plays it, yes, his king does get a bit exposed, but it's not so easy to attack.
There's so much psychology as well. When you're not having a great tournament, Sagar, you're looking for ways to bail out very often and keep things too much under control. And when you go for that strategy, you often miss your chances to win.
Right, absolutely. And in this case, I think Rajabov is generally pretty clear. He says, whenever I meet him, he's a good friend, but most of the times he's joking. But he says, like, if I draw, my team wins, generally. So he's looking for a solid result here, and the rest of his team members can get the job done.
Well, someone will have to get the job done, especially for the American Gambits, if they want a shot to qualify. And look at that. Rajabov goes for the most direct way. He defends that e-pawn, and Yu Yangi looking for trades along the open file.
Right. This looks pretty good right now for Rajabov. Let's go to board number 4. Tanya, the board where we were talking about this attack and defense, where Alexandra Koschenyuk had sacrificed a piece, but now it feels by the last move that has been played here, it's not so easy to continue the attack.
It's one of those positions, as long as the queens are on the board, we are talking a 3-result game. Anything can happen. Black is dreaming to trade off the queens because that means no checkmates. And then that extra piece really comes into play.
True, true. As of now, Kostyanyuk is creating pressure on the knight. She also has this edge pawn which we were talking about. But, you know, Bibisara can start trading pieces. She can bring her bishop forward. And I think she has not such a difficult task, Tanya. Would you agree on that?
I would agree with you. I think a few precise moves, just the next 2-3 moves, and she could have a huge advantage in this position. But Sagar, the clock is ticking, and you know, the pressure and the tension of the playing hall is completely different. So Bibisara still needs to be accurate for the next couple of moves.
Absolutely. This is quite an important game here. And while you are here, remember that it's not over after the last match. Head to chess.com and play for your favorite GCL club in the official fan tournament. And there we see the win probability showing 67% for Bibisara here. And we should definitely head to board number 2. Tanya, you had called it out that Jan-Krzysztof Duda needed to be careful.
Don't look at the board. Look at Duda on the screen right now. He's got head in hands. He knows he's in big trouble. And that last move he's just made, I think that puts him in even more trouble. We were talking about the activity of Weiyi's pieces. And it appears that Weiyi has found a way into Black's camp right now, Sagar. You just compare every single piece and pawn on the board. White king centralized. White knight looking like a stallion there. Meanwhile, Black super passive.
Absolutely, and the last move, which was the pawn moving ahead, is a mistake because White can push the pawn forward and then sacrifice the knight for this pawn and then eventually use these two pawns to bring home the full point, Tanya.
That's a stunning idea, but not an easy one to find.
Not easy, not easy, but you can bank on Weiyi to find these things.
In about 3 minutes? Are you putting your money on this?
Well, not really. He did not find it. He moves his king to the side. And actually, Duda is back in the game, Tanya. It was a window of opportunity there for just a move.
A stunning idea, but from a human perspective, not an easy one to calculate because it involves sacrificing a piece, Sagar, in an endgame where he's still putting the pressure.
Yeah.
He's looking for an inroad with his king on the left side of the board.
Yes.
Which also makes a lot of sense, a safer approach.
It makes a lot of sense, Tanya, but what if the black king starts to enter from here? Duda has his own counterplay that is coming in, and this game actually with limited material might well be the most exciting game right now.
It really is. Duda's counting on the clock to save him and somehow finding defensive resources which are not easy at all. And Sagar, I think for Duda it relies on activity, king activity. The king, which needs to be defended in the opening and middle game, has to be the most active piece in the end game. And there he goes for it.
He moves the king.
Ties it down to that white pawn.
Yeah, and as this game progresses, we're going to keep an eye on this. But Tanya, look at the action on board number 3. Temur Rajabov has just pushed his pawn right in the center of the board. Look at that. There in the heart of Black's camp is one pawn. And he's just taken it. And we need to check what exactly is happening here. So, both the players looking very focused. Rajabov has 4 minutes, 44 seconds, 6 minutes to Yu Yangi.
This looks very dangerous for that black king. All of Black's army is on the left side of the board. The king left alone. If White's one of the heavy pieces, the queen or the rook, can find a way to that black king, and you're pointing out a path from g4, from h5, things could get very risky. On the other hand, Yu Yangi trying to trade off as many pieces so that the attack can lose its pressure.
Right, but Rajabov is like, no way you're going to take my bishop. If you take it, my knight... Ooh, your knight could jump, Tanya, but the queen can come in. So maybe he wants to use the pawn to take there. So it's very interesting with the way Rajabov is playing. And he's also very, very conscious about his time, because you saw he made his last move in just 4 seconds. He has 4 minutes, 40 seconds only.
Sagar, I'm picking white every day, all day here. I love that last move. Like you said, trade, but trade on my terms. You pick up that bishop, I will replace it with a super strong pawn, just 2 steps away from the queening square. And Yu Yangi has some very difficult decisions to make right now.
Yes, he has to make them quickly. He's also under 5 minutes, but talking about change in the position. Something huge has changed here. Elizabeth Pates, who had a pretty bad position few moves ago, now has a close to winning position, Tanya.
And that black pawn fully in white's camp, that was supposed to be a white pawn.
Yeah.
How did Elizabeth even manage to get it? But it's all
Oh my God, it's
about
over. Tanya, it's over. The game can be over if Elizabeth finds the move knight jumping here, because next move the knight comes here. Oh, she makes it on the wrong square. She had to move the knight this way. Next move here and she would have won.
And Elizabeth had enough time on her clock. This is what surprised me, that she didn't just pause in this critical moment. That knight, she still wants it to go forward. She wants it to control that c-pawn from further pushing itself up the board. But this gives white chances, putting pressure on the b-pawn. A lot of counter-attack here. White attacks black pawn. Meanwhile, Elizabeth going for white pawns.
Yeah, right now, this one, maybe that last mistake might make this game end in a draw, because then white king will come and catch this pawn. But what is not definitely going to end in a draw is board number 4. Alexandra Koschenyuk versus Bibisara Asaubayeva. Look at this position. All of a sudden, there's no attack. In fact, it's black who's trying to attack now.
Bibisara has defended like a total machine in this one. And you're completely right. It suddenly looks like a turnaround. It's the black knight and queen that have started targeting that white king. And things are looking like they're going south for Alexandra Kostyuk right now.
Yeah, she hasn't lost a single game here. 3 wins and 3 draws. But is she staring at a defeat here? Too early to say that, because, you know, white has a lot of pawns, Tanya. But the 2 knights and the queen can be very strong.
There's a big threat that black has. That knight from the center of the board can jump towards the white king, giving a devastating check and coordinate itself with the queen, putting more pressure. Knight f4 is a threat you need to be careful about.
Yeah, right now, let's head over to board number 5. Tanya, Valentina Gunina has just lost. Oh, Elizabeth Pates won. We just called out saying, oh my God, this might be equal now. But she blundered, and look at Elizabeth. She's so happy. She waves to the fans in the crowd. Let's just back up a couple of moves and see what happened there.
And Elizabeth Pates gets the job done. The first win for the American Gambits. It's been a tough tournament, but she delivers when the team really needs it.
Right, so in this position, Tanya, it looked like the position was drawn. We were talking about it. Pawn took here, king took the pawn. It was looking equal. Oh my God, she just made the most unbelievable blunder of this tournament. She had to move the rook, take the pawn here, but she played the bishop. She thought if the rook is taken, she'll take the rook. But the rook simply slid over, giving a check. And on the next move, the rook is falling. What an unbelievable mistake, Tanya.
Unreal, absolutely shocking, especially at this level. But this happens, Sagar, in chess with tension and with the pressure of the match. A one-move mistake which is going to cost them dearly. Meanwhile, we also see a result on the icon board.
What?
It ends in a...
No!
Whoa!
Alireza lost.
Hikaru Nakamura gets the dub.
Oh my God, we need to see what happened there. Alireza Firouzja being a pawn up in the end game. How did he lose there?
He can't believe it. He can't move from the table. This is his first defeat of the tournament. He's as shocked as we are, Sagar.
You know, we were not heading to that game too much because we thought it would end in a draw. And let's have a look at what happened there. Unbelievable, Tanya. I'm going to show you. Alireza actually traded the rooks at a completely inopportune moment. You know, look at this. And there you have him arranging the pieces. If we can have the board here where, you know, Tanya, I'm going to show you. This was a moment of blindness from Alireza. It is absolutely unexpected.
Sagar, I think we have to break that down, but we will come to that because there's also hot action on this board. Now, everything that could possibly go wrong for the Kings has gone wrong.
Yes. Right now, Tanya, this one, let's quickly go back to this game. We'll show what happened in the Alireza game. He just traded the rooks at the wrong time, and it was won by Nakamura. You were telling us about this position.
Just look at it. You've got that extra piece. You're playing with the black pieces. You're putting pressure on the white king. I think Alexandra Kosteniuk is in big trouble in this one from a practical perspective. It's not going to be an easy save. She lifts that rook up, trying to keep the third rank defended so far. But Sagar, the knights, they're having a party. They're jumping around.
No, this is looking very, very good for Bibisara Asaubayeva. And we need to head over to board number 2, Tanya, because both the players, down to a minute on the clock, both have, like, very complicated position, because black has a extra pawn on the king side, white has an extra pawn on the queen side. Look at Wei there, he has 50 seconds.
Incredibly tense, and both players under a minute. It's a race. It's absolutely a race. Who gets to the final rank of the board with their pawn?
Yeah, and who's going to have the sort of courage to keep playing for the win? Right now it feels like Duda has that courage. He's attacked the knight. He's attacking the pawn. Wei is unable to move quickly. He's down to 30 seconds.
He's got to move quickly. There's no bonus time. Sagar, I'm expecting pieces to be flying in just a few moments, because this is anyone's game. It's not a simple end game.
Not at all. That's why you see for every move they're thinking for more than 10 seconds, Tanya.
And for Wei Yi, there's so much responsibility. There have been 2 losses for the TCK so far.
Right, and by the way, tricky move there by Duda, creating his own passed pawn, about to queen, just 2 steps away while Wei pushes.
It's a race. Will it be the white pawn or will it be the black pawn? Right now, the black knight has just stopped that white pawn from going up the board.
Right, and the king goes back. The white king comes first. Logically, this should be a draw, Tanya.
19 seconds.
You have just 17 seconds. And I'm not sure if Wei can hold this. Oh, that's a very tricky move. Because if the king takes the pawn, he wants to give a check and take it.
He just wants to give up his knight for that black pawn, and then it's a
Look
draw.
At Duda. He doesn't want to draw.
He doesn't. He wants to keep the pawn alive. But it won't last too long.
Oh, it's going to be a draw here, Tanya. Well done there by both the players. A draw is there on this board. And board number 3 also ended in a draw. We have to go to board number 4. This has been an insane performance by the American Gambits. They won on board 1, they won on board 4, 2 draws on board 2 and 3, and now on board number 3 they were winning, but not anymore.
Triveni Continental Kings still struggling to get a win into this match right now. Will Alexandra Kosteniuk be able to do it? Sagar, she's down a knight, but there are a lot of pawns for that knight. Look at the left side of the board. Those pawns are marching up.
Yeah, these pawns look very dangerous. And now, if there's anyone who can play for a win, it is white here. But it might not be enough, Tanya. Even if Kosteniuk wins here, and even if Sindarov, who's winning on the Prodigy board, the Triveni Continental Kings will not be able to win this match.
But Sagar, game points are critical. They need to get as many of those as possible. And the players, now it's all about the clock. Forget the position, get the moves in quickly.
Yeah, right now 50 seconds for Bibisara, 28 seconds for Kosteniuk. The position has shifted once again. Black is winning now.
And that's because of the activity. Look at Black's rooks coming down into White's camp right now. And Bibisara doing everything right. Suddenly the White's pawns have been halted and the piece activity is at its maximum.
Yeah, this is looking pretty good now for Bibisara. And I don't think Kosteniuk will be able to hold this one, Tanya.
Not with 14 seconds on the clock, not with an hour on the clock.
This is not possible. The knight is so tricky here. Wants to give a check. King moves in. Check. Oh, she loses a rook. She loses a rook, but Kosteniuk is like, I still have maybe some hope on the clock. Not really, Tanya. 31 seconds for Bibisara is a lot of time.
It's a lot of time, especially when Kosteniuk is down to 5 seconds. And it's still crazy because she's fighting. She's down 1 rook, she's down 1 knight, but those pawns, they've really marched up the board.
She's lost both the rooks now. This is too much. I don't think she'll be able to survive, but I love the spirit with which Alexandra is playing here.
Doesn't give up.
Yeah, doesn't give up at all. She's fighting till the bitter end. 1 second left, and she resigns with a smile on her face. What a fight that was. And right now, you can see 3rd win for the American Gambits. What a game that was.
American Gambits with a total shutdown so far, Sagar. They've had 3 victories and a result on the Prodigy board.
Yeah, this one for Javokir Sindarov right now. He wins the game against Jonas. And that means that one win for Triveni Continental Kings there. But the match has been taken by the American Gambits. The score is 14-5, Tanya.
They crushed it. They absolutely crushed it, the American Gambits. Hikaru Nakamura getting that win against Alireza Firouzja. Alireza's first taste of a defeat, first setback. And there we see the players. They know they've done it for the team. Tough for Jonas, but the team wins, and that's what matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And there you see Bibisara having a smile on her face. She definitely played some amazing chess here against Kostyanyuk's blistering attack, because Kostyanyuk has never lost a game. And by the way, Tanya, we must show our viewers what is the mistake that Alireza Firouzja did that handed him his first loss of the tournament.
Let's do it, Sagar, because that really set the tone for the way the match played out. As we see the dugouts, the players are joined by their teammates. They've got to be feeling good about this victory.
Yeah, the American Gambits did their job today. Fantastic play. Oh, and this is the moment. He gives a check. Firouzja had to move his king. He blocked with the rook and then instantly realized, oh my God, and look at Hikaru there. He's like, what is this, Alireza? Why did you make this move? And look at him. He takes the rook and he's lost. So in this position, Tanya, it looked like the position was drawn.
Closer
we were
to the white pawns, and the
about
shake of his head tells the full story. He's up a pawn, but he loses because the black king will march up the board, pick up the two white pawns, and Hikaru Nakamura with a massive victory.
Yeah, that was a big one there, and it actually set the tone for the match, because with that win, you know, it gave the American Gambits the much needed lead on board one.
Did you see the shock on Hikaru's face at that moment?
He was not happy. He was like, no, you know, this is not the way in which Alireza, you should blunder, you know. But still, a win is a win. And 14 points for the American Gambits, 5 for the Triveni Continental Kings. Tanya, this is the day when all the leaders are actually tumbling.
Tumbling and falling. We had the Mumbai Masters with a big win against the Pipers, and now it's the American Gambits who take down the Kings, and suddenly the field is wide open.
Right, and right now we have James Canty waiting for us in the playing hall. Let's go there.
That was an insane break. Wow, we'll have a breakdown of everything that happened right after this break.